Interest rates are going up. Trying to get ahead is mighty, mighty tough. Bill collectors at my door. I need someone to help me raise my credit score.
Welcome to another edition, part two of, I can't say the Guardian Angels of Justice and Peace, but this is part two from what you heard Saturday afternoon. Josie, Bradon, and myself are here, part two. We decided to...
For what? We decided to we're wearing the same thing, right? Let's keep it real. But why are we doing we're wearing the same thing because we did part one and now we're doing part two. We're keeping it real. All right, I'm going to take over. I can tell you need to breathe. Well, anyway, this is called the Guardian Angels of Justice and Peace. And what our mission is to restore hope in individuals and families across the world. And of course, in America, because there's a lot of stuff that's going on. So keeping it real, Pearl. Let's talk about it because I know you're the credit expert. You've been doing it for how many years?
Okay, now we got to get serious here. We have to get serious. I'm sorry, people, but, we're in the same clothes.
That's okay.
But that's okay is right. This show is on two topics that we're really serious about. One is my topic, is credit, and two is Josie's topic that she's experienced, gone through it, and want to educate the people. Many people in this country have credit problems, and you're losing your homes, and this is what this is all about. This show is credit. We want to help you. I'm not going to go in detail because if you go to last Wednesday's show, you're going to see the whole show was on credit, your credit rights, and what to do and what to say. Tonight's show is, you have to get it. You have to understand credit. You have to go beyond and get educated. And this is the year. You just can't guess at it. You just can't say, you know what, I'm going to know my credit rights, or Pearl's going to do it, or I'm going to look on the internet, or I'm going to hire an attorney. So this is the year that you have no choice because our economy is going under, and you want to make it to flow so easy with our help. And I'm going to help everybody out there that's possible that I can help to help save your home. And that's a promise right now. If you're losing your home, I promise you I'll do anything to save it, everything to save it. If you need a higher credit score for a mortgage, I will do everything possible to raise that score. And I mean what I say what I mean, as I always say, and I'm not about to just bull you, as I put it, because you're the one that's hurting. And if you need your credit corrected, if you need, to raise that score, you're watching it. What else do you want us to do? What else do you want me to do? And I always say I can't, you take a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink it. Well, that's so true, because I can educate you all day, all night about your credit rights, and you'll still be hurting and lose your home. Well, we're going to give you the opportunity, and tonight's show is credit and divorce, and we're going to give it to Josie right now because she has an important topic, and the important topic is if you are getting a divorce, you're going to have a credit problem. Many people out there have a credit problem, the husband, wife, spouse. You're going to have a credit problem, and it's going to come with you. And you won't be able to get that house or car after you get that divorce because it's going to follow you wherever you go. And that's only part of the problem when it comes to divorce. You're going to hear the other problems, but the thing is, the credit part is going to follow you. It doesn't have to follow you. Pick up a phone, do something, get educated, do your homework, and we will make it happen. And the show Saturday, the Guardian Angels, well, this is what this is all about as well. So we want to make a dent. I want to make a dent personally with your credit. I want to make a dent getting that house, getting that car, or saving your home. Now we're going to go to Josie because it's another important topic that everybody should even think about. And I know you're sitting there saying, well, I just got divorced, so you don't know what I feel. Wrong.
I do know what they feel. And I want to touch base something really quick with regards to what you said, is because I think a lot of times people don't react. They don't do things because they don't know enough. The fact is that if you do have a low credit score, we've been conditioned to believe that you have to wait so many years, right, to get it off your score, right? In order to, we've been conditioned to believe as society that you have to wait so many years before you can see your score go up. But the truth is, you've been a credit expert for so many years, and you can literally, within how many days can you 30. See changes? Within 30 days, you can make changes to people's scores. Most people are not aware of that. They don't think it ever existed, because there's a lot of information out there whether it's online or whatever, that says, you have to wait so many years. Well, the truth is you've helped so many people, probably thousands of people through your entire career with getting their credit scores back up. And what this is all about is restoring hope, because a lot of people feel like they're in this bad situation. They can't get out of it. And what I always say is it's just one moment in time. A bad situation is just one moment in time. Things will get better. And what you need to do is you need to seek out the right people, the right resources to get those answers to whatever.
What about the people that are in divorce? What do you say to them that says to you, you don't understand?
The first thing I would tell them is I absolutely understand, because when I went through, my accounts were completely emptied out, completely 100%. I was left with absolutely nothing, and so I had to start over completely. And that was just a small thing that happened. There was a lot of things that happened in that process. So I can absolutely 100% relate to people on every level of what divorce is. I've had everything you can imagine that can possibly happen to somebody going through that process. And what I've learned is that first of all, number one is, can I relate 100%? Yes, I can absolutely 100% yes relate to what people are going through. And it's because of those experiences that have led me to want to share why I've been able to come out of that. And because I don't want to see people in pain. I've never, there's so many resources available to them. And I was one of those people that never really shared, because I was always helping other people. So now when something happened to me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is, how do I deal with it? How do I let people know? And I realized that when I finally let people in and just shared, even saying you don't understand me, you're sharing. Because now I know that I have the ability to share with you why I do understand. Mm-hmm. So by someone saying to me, you don't understand, is telling me that we're still communicating. They're sharing with me that I think they don't understand when I know they do. When I know I do. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's so many things that go through with divorce. Your self-esteem is affected. Most of the time for many people, their self-esteem is affected. And oftentimes their self-esteem was affected way before they got married. But then they got divorced, and then their self-esteem was affected on some level by what's happening in the divorce.
What do you say to the people that are still married and maybe shouldn't be married and are taking abuse, and they're saying, where do I go from here? I don't want to be married. I don't want to, what do you tell them to stay there, or what do you tell them, these people?
I don't give any advice as far as whether to stay or go. My advice would always be is to seek truth with your relationship with your creator, which is God. Mm-hmm. For me, that's where I go first. Mm-hmm. And I think that when you start praying and you start looking for insight, the answers are already within you as a person as to what to do or what not to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that your creator, with your relationship with your creator, will allow you to make the best decision for yourself. So I would never advise any coach to tell anybody what to do, because the idea of being a great coach is you don't have to tell them what to do. You just give them enough information for them to decide for themselves what serves their purpose, what serves their spirit the best. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So that's what I would advise. That's how I would go with that.
So if somebody's in an abusive relationship, though, and they don't know which way to turn, that you said, you can't give out advice, you can't tell them, but what about this person that you would want to leave and think for themselves?
See, again, you're putting out that I would want them to leave. It's not my place to tell somebody to leave or stay. Correct. It's something within them, their own spirit.
Within themselves.
Correct.
But don't you think there's a problem, though, in this country while there's so much abusive marriages? Because, they have to stay. They think they have to stay. And maybe they don't want to stay? Well,
I think you have to go down. For me, it goes back to the source. I think what happens is, and again, I'm a work in progress myself. I've been awakened, so I'm sharing what I feel. And everybody else out there can just decide whether it works, whether it resonates or not with them. But this is what I feel. I feel that, we're all looking for solutions in somebody else before you get married, right? Mm-hmm. Before you got married, we're all looking for solutions. This person they think is going to be the answer to whatever their issue might be. They might, whether it's financial or personal, whatever it might be. People think other people are the solutions. Mm-hmm. And in my belief is that, you need to fall in love with God first. Mm-hmm. And by falling in love with God first and knowing what God promises you, you're going to become a better person and attract that of which you want in your life. Mm-hmm. So that's where I think it comes down to the source. That's for me. That's what I believe. And then going back to, you're in a relationship. My advice would be is to seek first understanding through yourself and through your creator. Does that make sense? So, and I found for myself is the more alone time that I had, just to like talk to God. We talked about that on the first part of the show. I talk to God all the time. It's something that I do. I talk in my car. I talk in my house. I'm open about it. I speak openly about it because for me, it's very important that people know that it's okay to do. That to have a relationship and to talk openly, and that's where I think the questions are. You will have those answers that you're looking for because it will just present themselves as you seek more clear understanding. I believe those answers will just start to present themselves in your spirit.
When we come back, we're going to go back to the credit portion. Why are so many people with divorces are having credit problems, and what to do when you do separate? If you want to separate and you think it's time to separate, where do you go from there? We'll be right back.
There's nothing more disruptive and annoying than getting an automated call to your cell phone. There are laws against companies using computers or recorded messages to call you on your cell phone without your permission. This is consumer protection attorney Carrie Flitter. You've heard me as a guest on the Pearl Polto show. There are consumer laws in place that prohibit many of the unwanted calls to your cell phone. If you're receiving unwanted or unauthorized calls, whether collection, selling products or services, or otherwise, you may be entitled to have these calls stopped and to collect money damages that the law provides. If you're getting unwanted or pre-recorded calls to your cell phone, contact us, the Consumer Protection Lawyers at Flitter Lorenz, at 888-668-1225. That's 888-668-1225, or online at consumerslaw.com. That's consumers with an S, consumerslaw.com. If we accept your case, the bad guys pay our bill.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Pearl Polto Show, Part 2 with Josie, Bradon, and Pearl Polto. We're talking about divorces. We're also talking about your credit rights. But Josie said she's got some questions for me when it comes to divorces. Well, we're going to find out and try to give you as best answers as possible.
Okay, so let's talk about when people go through a divorce. What is the most common thing people say to you? You've been in this industry for so long. You're known as the expert. What do they often say to you? What do people believe before they ever come to you?
In the process of getting a divorce?
Yes.
Well, first of all, when a husband and wife has credit cards, an example, if you have a credit card and your husband has a credit card and you're going through a bitter divorce, the husband or the wife, not prejudice here, the husband or the wife will use up all the credit cards and use up all the money. So you're hurting. And they do this because they think they're hurting you. But guess what? They're not hurting you. They're not hurting you. And the reason why they're not hurting a person with a divorce, let's say you're in a process of divorce and your husband's trying to hurt you, and then you call me. You call me and you say, Pearl, I have all bad credit now. I went through a bad divorce. I have charge-offs. My husband took all the charges away. Can you help me? Well, my answer to you is I can help you, but I will not help your husband. And I can't help your husband because he's not a client. You are. And what do? I make it better for you. I'm not a miracle worker, but I try to get everything right the way it was before he even did anything to you. So it's going to backfire on him. So you'll get your satisfaction when you got the good credit and he's got the bad credit, because it's got to go on his report unless he becomes a client. But you can get your life in order. And the biggest thing with houses, with divorces, with MasterCards, with loans, the biggest thing that people are afraid of when it comes to a divorce, what they'll say is, I just got divorced, but I need an apartment, and I don't know how to get an apartment because I have all bad credit now because of my ex. What do I do? Or am I stuck here? You're not stuck here. And the reason why you're not stuck here, as I'm doing your credit, I will write a recommendation letter for you for that new apartment with the application. And what I do is I'll write a recommendation letter from Pearl Polto Incorporated, from me as a consumer advocate, and it's going with the application. And I'm telling the people that I know about you, I know about your credit, I know what's happening, and I'm going to take that risk on you. And as a consumer advocate, if I'm going to take that risk on you, take the risk on the consumer. Wow. And then you normally get the apartment, because then they have to answer to me, and they're going to respect me because I think so much of you. But in that case, you'll get the apartment. But please, people, because I'm putting my trust in you as well, that, everything will go to par as I'm doing your credit. So I'm getting your life back in order. And you may want that, let's say you want a house afterwards. And you say, what do? I want a house. Well, you get the apartment, you stay in the apartment, you start saving. You start saving to get a house, and then I'll help you with the mortgage and everything else, because by that time your credit will be done. Minimum 30 days. So if your spouse, your husband or wife thinks they're hurting you, they're really not. They're really not, because you're sitting back saying, I know Pearl Polto, and I know my credit rights now. So that's what it's all about. So people doesn't have to be in a stage in a divorce where they think they're done.
Right. And let's talk about judgments, because we talked a little bit about this. Most people don't know that judgments can even be removed. I mean, tell us about that, because if you go online, people will say, where do I go to get a judgment removed? You know, I don't see it anywhere, but you've been doing it for years. You've been getting judgments removed.
When somebody has a judgment, let me tell you the differences and between judgments and there's tax liens. Everybody thinks they're associated one by one, and it's not. A judgment is not a tax lien, and a tax lien is not a judgment. Let me separate it. A tax lien is against your property. A judgment is not against your property. It's a judgment against a credit report that went to court. It could be called a default judgment. Default judgment means you didn't show up at a court. It's not a scary word. Don't make it so scary. It's not a scary word, because all it means is you didn't show up in court. I see it on a credit report. I delete it. I don't delete it personally, but I dispute it to be deleted. It's just like a bad credit. Now, a judgment, everybody thinks, well, they're going to take my house. They're going to take my car. They're going to take my possessions. There's state laws and there's federal laws. Like an example, if you lived in Florida, Pennsylvania, there's so many states that they can't take anything. If they threaten you, that's against the law too. But a judgment is just like a bad credit. Now, again, I'm not a miracle worker. Here's how it works. You write to, no credit bureau is going to write to the court. And if they did write to the court's not going to respond back. The courts are so backed up, they're not going to respond back. And when they don't respond back, what happens is it's the credit bureau's job, not the job of the bank or not the job of the court. It's the credit bureau's job to delete it. Now, many people out there make mistakes. Well, let me give you Privacy Act out there, so I'm not going to mention names, but we have an attorney who's a client. Many attorneys that are our clients. But he had a judgment against them. And he called me up and he said, I made things so easy, Pearl. You only had one thing left. And I negotiated with that creditor, and for $10,000 down to $2,000, and I wrote to the credit bureau to say it was paid in full. And I said to him, wrong. Now I have to take you and then this is where you're going to see the other side of me, because now I'm going to have to take you as a client all over again. You broke my rules. You broke the rules is because you hurt yourself. You hurt yourself is because not only you paid a bill collector, you wasted your money. You could have paid me. I always joke and say you could have paid me. But what you did is you send this to the credit bureau. Now the credit bureau is sitting back laughing and saying, now he gave us all the homework. We don't have to investigate. We'll keep it on for 10 years. So you paid the wrong people. You kept this judgment on for 10 years. Why? Because it's lack of education. So what I tell the people is when you go to a doctor, your regular MD, and your mother, your father, your sister, brother has heart problems, are you going to tell your regular doctor to do heart surgery on you? No. So why would you go to anybody? Because you didn't do your homework. Attorneys, they're a dime a dozen. They're in every field. There's bankruptcy attorneys. There's corporate attorneys. So what makes you think attorneys are so general? They're not.
You know, you just brought up something that just caught my thought process while you're talking about it, because most often when people go through a divorce, they're often told for bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. And you said bankruptcy stays forever. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about that, because most people don't understand that.
Bankruptcy in my book, one of my books, I call it the 10-year curse. I call it the 10-year curse is because I'm against it. And I'm against it is because I say at my seminars, and you'll hear it all the time when you attend the seminars, there's two offices. There's mine, and there's the attorneys. Now, you're hurting. You go to the attorneys, and you're saying, all the bill collectors are against me. I owe thousands of dollars to everybody. What do you suggest? And the attorney says, file bankruptcy, because that's all he knows. See, I'm a paralegal, but it has nothing to do with credit laws. Credit laws are found in Congress, not in law school. Now, you come to me. I'm standing right beside this attorney. And you say, Pearl, you just heard the attorney say file bankruptcy. No, you're going to come to my office, and I'm going to dispute it, and I'm going to have this removed within minimum 30 days. Where do you want to go? And you're going to pay thousands of dollars to this attorney for the bankruptcy, and you're going to pay minimum to me. And I'm going to be like the miracle worker to you. And this attorney, not that he can hurt you, he doesn't know credit laws. Right. So you can't down him for it either. So which office do you want to go to? I think there's, you don't have to be a brilliant scientist to see which direction I'm telling you to go to.
Right, but I think the biggest thing that people have a challenge with is because the country has conditioned themselves, the people have conditioned themselves to believe that bankruptcy is the only option. And it's because of that belief, when you have all these beliefs, this is a belief that's been in the country for so many years. What you're bringing to the table, very few people really are aware of it. I mean, this is something that you've been doing for years that has been out there, but they don't know that it exists. So now we're saying it does exist. And that's the gift right now. That's the gift that we're telling the people right now, is that if there is an issue, whether it's a divorce issue, whether it's a judgment, whatever it is, that they can come to you and get their credit improved, and within 30 days.
And so what you're telling them to do is be nice with the divorce. You're getting them that they're not in this by themselves, and at the same time, you're not doomed with credit.
Correct. And the biggest thing that we're not teaching people to negate their responsibility, because a lot of times this is not about, okay, you didn't pay that bill and it's, oh, don't pay that. We're not talking about that.
Wait a minute. I'm going to stop you there, because I say it every seminars, and I'm going to say it again today. Everyone is morally and legally obligated to pay their bills. Everyone, morally and legally obligated to pay their bills. But there's divorce, there's sickness, things that come up in your life that you can't, and it's not your fault.
Exactly.
And that's the people that we're heading to.
Yes, exactly. Because a lot of those people think that there's no help there, but there is help. Yeah. That's the biggest thing. Yeah. And so now we're gonna talk about not only the credit side of it, but the mindset. Okay, we talk about that. Yeah. Now I want you to talk about the mindset of people coming to you. What are the things? The mind. What are the things they're saying to you? And that you hear on a constant basis, and we're going to talk about that negative. We're talking about the negative versus the positive, knowing how to change your life. Let's talk about the negative that you hear people coming in saying about themselves or their credit or their situation.
Well, when you say about the negative, I mean, everybody thinks that as a negative report, they think they're done. So they think their life is done. But, see, their life is not done. Like you could be. You're Susan Smith, and you think, I am done. I just got divorced. My credit score is 400. I'm done. I want a car. I can't get a car. They're going to pull up my report. I want a house. I want a credit card. I need it for my business. This is the average person. And the average person, business especially, they'll say to me, hey, I need a credit card for my business. I don't know what to do anymore. I need this, Pearl. But you see, it's not that, again, that I could just give it to them. You have to go to, as you call it, the journey, the system. And they have to go to this journey to see. We don't perform miracles. This is it's the law. It's knowing your rights. Now, why does people know their rights? Because no one knocks on your door. It's
okay. So now we're gonna get deeper here, because this is what I'm talking about. People don't realize that this is part of their rights. It's not just an opportunity for a service to get something done. This is their right to restore their credit. That's what the credit laws are about. But most people don't know it. Or some people, they know it, but they don't really make enough effort to change it. Is that what you see?
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Now, why, though? It's not that it's lack of knowledge. It's not that they're stupid or they're dumb. They just don't know.
Yes.
I mean, they don't know. I go by referrals only, and they have to find me. And I don't like that either, because they have to find me to know their rights. And I always tell them, no one's going to knock on your door to say, oh, by the way, there's many credit rights out there. There's many laws out there. Let me come in and tell you about these laws. That's what I don't do, and I should be doing. And I did do it before, because I was on all the television stuff. Not anymore, but it will happen again, obviously, with your help.
Remember, we talked about, some people have this attitude, it sounds too good to be true. You know what I mean? Because it's not something they hear every day. Oh, it sounds too good to be true. Well, it's true. I mean, you can restore your credit.
People, what do you say to these people when it says it's too good to be true? And I say it all the time. If it's too good to be true, don't listen. It's a scam out there. And many will say, well, it's Pearl Polto, a scam. Well, you know what? I'm going to be for real. When something is too good to be true, I always say facts are there, and actions speak louder than words. And that's what I say to my clients. As much as you're choosing me, I'm choosing you. Because I can't take the whole world on as clients. But if you don't believe, then I have books. I have Credit Lifeline things for you to do it yourself. Learn the condition of what I am doing for you. And if you learn what I'm doing for you, then you'll say, oh my God, she's putting out so much work. She's undercharging. But now I'm learning the laws. And if I'm learning the laws, I know what can be removed. As I said, I'm not a miracle worker. And if it's too good to be true, like anything else, learn what I can do. And then if you don't do it, because you don't have the time, to say, hey, read you everywhere. I've seen you everywhere. I know it can be done, but I want you to do it because you're determined to make it happen. And somebody else is just going to do it.
Right, and let's be real here, because you have people that come to you from all walks of life. You have celebrities that have come to you, people that have been in business, high profile people that have come to you to fix their credit. Because I mean, the truth is that there are solutions that exist. So to the people out there that are saying, "Can she really help me?" The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she can help you. You just have to reach out, and then you'll be able to help them based on what you see in their profile and things of that nature. Correct?
My fee is not high.
Yeah.
My fee is not high, and if a person is desperate, it's always said to me, Pearl, I'm in the military. I'm homeless. I've heard it all, and yet no, I'm not a horrible person. I'm going to help you with your credit because one day you're going to refer somebody else, and that's how I look at it. It's a barter at times because you're going to, and then I feel good. All I want from my clients is to let me know you got your house, you got your credit. The homeless called me from a phone booth one time and said, "You're not going to believe this. I'm living in California and I have an apartment," but that made me feel good. So it's 1 out of 10 people that'll take the time to write those letters, their emails, with that you're, and then hey, I'm making a dent.
Yes.
I'm making a dent. Even like when you talk about people that are going through divorces, you're making a dent in their lives, and then you're helping them, and then it makes you feel good. It makes you want to go on to the next one. So every time I say I give up, that's it, I've had it with credit, it's that one person that'll call me, write to me by saying, "I'm just calling you to say thank you because you don't know what you did for me." And then I'm saying, "No, I want to thank you because you just made me to go on with the next person."
God bless. And let's talk about broken hearts, because that's really what it is. I mean, what happens a lot of times is people, they get their credit fixed. And we talked about this. They'll get their credit fixed, but then they're in another relationship. That quick. They get married, and they get divorced, and they're back in the same place again. So going back to talking about broken hearts, let's talk about why people do what they do.
Why do they? Now, that's my question to you. People just got a divorce, and they jump right into it again.
This is my belief that I think people are looking for I think we're all searching for love, and sometimes we think I think it's hard sometimes for some people to say they're lonely or to be alone, because when you're alone, you have, you start to feel, you can feel things. Well, you feel pain, you start thinking about your life, and some people don't want to deal with that. They think that they're going to go into the next relationship, and that person is going to fill a void. This is just my belief, okay? They're going to fill a void. And then they find out later when they're married, well, this person's really selfish. This person doesn't do this, or this person, whatever it is, they find every reason why this person is not right for them. And then there's another turmoil that's in life.
Then it wasn't really love to start.
Right. Well, that's the whole part of our seminars, because what we want to share with the world is, we believe, this is what I believe, is that we've gotten away from what the core truth of what love is. I think there's a lot of people, their families, they've come from their broken families, and love is not clearly defined to them, because maybe their parents were not exactly, positive or love or whatever. They didn't have that as parents. And so without knowing it, that child was getting these messages of what they thought what love is, because that's all they know. That's all that child's world is, what their parents are giving to them. So then that child becomes an adult by their definition of what they saw with their parents, and they're like, what is love? So you have all this diluted idea of what love is. They never see what the purest form of love is. And so for me, and what I want to teach, and what keeps coming up in the emails, and that people that are asking me all about, the message is, fall in love with God first. And when I say that with such a truthful heart of saying, if you seek God first, you will find all those other things, because the renewal of your spirit, the renewal of your mind will bring into you the strength to be alone for a while, to process what you're feeling. And it also allow you to realize, wow, this is, when you're alone, you have that moment to really think about what's right and what's not right. Mm-hmm. And you have that moment to really, oh, wow, I didn't realize this about myself. You know what I mean? You have those moments. But if you're going right away into a relationship and you're not thinking about what happened before, you have that potential of making the same mistakes again. So that time alone space, that, that thing that we most fear of, that aloneness, sometimes could truthfully be a gift for that time period, because it allows you to have that personal time and space to just process, to think about yourself, think about what you want. Think about what's important so that you are paying more attention to what you're drawing into your life. Does that make sense?
It sure does. Sure does. Right to a T, and it should hit home.
Yes.
You're talking to.
So I mean, and that's the thing too. So it's not just we want to fix people's credit report so that they can be. We want to repair, I should say, their credit report, but we want it to last a lifetime.
So their esteem is one step higher.
Correct.
And then when their esteem is one step higher, then they feel good about themselves, and they feel good about what they want in a relationship or what they don't want in a relationship, and then they'll see the field because they're going to say, "Hey, I'm pretty good right now. I'm back on the feet. I got my apartment. I got good credit. Now I'm going to be more not choosier. That's not the word.
More aware.
More aware.
You're more aware.
Yeah.
You're going to be, and you have to be careful. Because
I don't want to make the same mistake I did the second time around. This time I know my eyes are awake. I want the real thing. I want, what I want to feel like, and I want the whole picture. I want everything. Exactly.
And, for me, it's like, find somebody who's in love with God. Because if they're in love with God, God always raises the bar of how you should live your life, how you should, because if you're finding someone who really has a relationship with our Creator, they're going to always want to be elevated in thoughts, in what they're going to be like with somebody else, and so you're going to attract that much. The world's going to start to expand for you because you're bringing yourself to the right people. Because if you go to all these websites, Match.com and all these websites on relationships.
What about them?
Well, I think again, the biggest thing is that people are looking. They're looking for love. Mm-hmm. They're looking for love.
All in the wrong places.
Well, I don't know. Here's what I'm going to say about that. You only get a single picture and a statement about. And some people have found love. They have found love. But what I would advise is that before you go on there, seek time to find a relationship with your Creator, with God, before you're on there, so that you're really putting the best profile of who you are up there. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. It's interesting. As you were saying that, we had a guest on last week. She was a real estate agent, and she was married the second time, right? And she said she met him. She met him on the internet, and she talked to him for 6 months before she even met him. And when she talked to him for 6 months, she said she never met him. And one time they met for dinner. And she said she knew. She knew right then and there. And they've been married for 10 years already. And
right.
She said, and the 10 years later, it's just like the first time that they met on the first dinner. She said, but we didn't really want to meet for all those times. And we talked and talked and talked. And hearing her, it was like a honeymoon Cinderella story. Because she was still in love with the second husband. Because of what they did and how they did. It was really pretty interesting to hear her talk like that.
And that's a great thing, because it's when you talk about Match or any of these internet, because internet is just another way of reaching more people. Mm-hmm. You're allowing yourself to say, okay, you want to be able to meet more people to connect with, because the more you're out there, you're gonna attract that of which maybe that you could be attracting people. The biggest thing is know who you are. A lot of people still don't know who they are. A lot of people are looking for the answers in different things. They're marrying people because of
wrong reasons.
The wrong reasons. They're marrying them. Oh, I've got these financial problems. If I marry this person, my financial problems are over. They're not in love with that person. Or they're marrying people because of they're lonely. They're not in love with that person. So there's a lot of things. In the thing is who am I to make judgment? Everyone has their own life. What all I'm saying is that if this makes sense and it resonates, pay attention to it, because it's probably knocking at your soul that there's something here of value to bring into their lives. You know what I mean? That's what this whole message is. And for myself, this is what I learned about myself, is that being alone for a period of time, and I didn't watch anything. I didn't watch reality TV. I didn't do anything but live, breathe, think spiritual stuff. I mean that, and I just allowed myself. It's like a person exercising. They're committed to losing weight. Okay, they're committed to food, certain types of food. They're committed to thinking a certain way. They're committed to going to the gym. Well, I just made the commitment for myself that I was going to make a commitment with my Creator. And that's all I was going to do 24/7 for 2 years. And so that's when the whole world started opening up to me, because I started realizing I am strong, even because when you go through a divorce, you start thinking, there's things that come up in your spirit where you question so much. And those questions are really opportunities to transform yourself. So, that's what I would say to somebody, is that in that alone time, that's really a gift time to give to yourself, because you're allowing yourself to grow and to be disciplined.
Good words. I'm telling you, good words. I mean, you got my attention. I'm hoping you get everybody else out there, and I know you did, because they're thinking. You're making people think.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is, we talked about this in the first part of the show, is we talk about God. Why does Josie talk about God? I want to make sure that people
Who's
understand.
Josie?
Because you know what? Someone said something to me that was so brilliant. I'm serious. They said this to me.
We always like to cut the rope.
Someone said to me, and I do talk about them, and they said, you know what? When you're in love with someone, think about it. When you're in love with somebody, do you talk about them? You talk about them, right?
All
if you're
the
in love
time.
with someone,
All the
you're going to talk about them all the time.
Yeah.
So, fall in love with God.
Yeah.
And then you're
Yeah.
naturally going to talk about him, because when you know what you speak of is emanating truth, and you know it's activating every single moment, you're going to speak. And I'm just sharing what I feel is important, and because there's a lot of people out there that I get emails. I get emails all the time, and God bless them, because I love them for being so open and honest about who they are, what they're going through. But the secret that I would have, there's no secret. The secret is, take some time for yourself, talk to God.
Get to know the real you.
Get to know the real you. Embrace the real you, because you were already created. You were already created wealthy. You're created by God. Everything you have is already within you. The answers are already there. You just have to find the right resources and the right people to bring out those qualities in you. You processing? You thinking about it?
Sure. I'm going to use your line. I'm processing as you're talking.
Yeah.
About it. But it's so true.
Yes.
Everything you just said. Like, that's to me the miracle of life, what you're saying. And you experienced it, but you got to know the miracle of life and knowledge.
Yeah, and the biggest thing I would say is, I've been through it all. I've been, when you think down and out, I have definitely been there. I was down and out. But the one thing that I would have to say is, my spirit, the core of me,
Never died.
I always my way of working through it was to talk to God. I'm talking to God so much. I always joke around with you. God rolls his eyes, says, Josie's calling again, It's Josie again. And that's how I used to joke around. But now I've just accepted the fact that maybe that this is what God wants from all of us. He wants us to have a relationship with him.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And you got your wish. You got your, see, ask,
Yes.
I always say, ask and you shall receive.
Yes.
But God does. Ask me
Yes.
and you shall receive it. He's not going to deny anybody. You asked him a lot of times,
Yes.
and he rolled his eyes up. And believe me, I know, because he would answer me, Pearl, would you do something? Take the heavy off of me? And he did. God took the heavy off of him and put it on me, and then I put it back on him again. And then
Yes.
he did his miracles.
And and the thing that I would share with somebody is, I've talked to you about this back years and years ago, 2005, going through my divorce and things of that nature. What you question God, like, why is this happening? Why did all these things start coming to the surface about wondering why things you're going through. And the reality is God is renewing you. You just don't know it yet. Yeah. It's like, have you ever heard the expression that you're in a storm, but you don't realize the rainbow is just right around the corner? You just got to hang on to the storm, And there's a lot of parents out there, they're doing terrible things with their children. They're manipulating other parents. There's parents that are punishing the other parent, and they're using their kids.
Yes.
They're doing things, they're lying to their children, saying things that are untruthful
To
about
hurt the spouse.
they're hurt, and the reason why they're doing it is because their self-esteem is so low that they don't believe that God has got a plan for them, so they're working so hard to hurt the other person. When in reality, whatever may have happened between these two people, that relationship may have not lasted, but it doesn't have to get vicious.
No, you're
because
right.
the more vicious it is, and you have children involved, it's affecting the children 100 times worse.
But
Because
God's only going to make things work out anyway.
God's going to make things work out anyway.
I believe that.
Absolutely.
I do believe God's going to work out in any relationship that's out there with children and stuff. God's going to balance it off because he's watching.
Yes.
He's actually watching all of us. So, we can't hide. You can run, but you can't hide, as
Yes.
they say.
Yes.
Well, and that's with everything. You can run, but you can't hide with anything out there.
And that is such a great statement, because going back to the first part of our show, I said, there's people out there that think that God can't find them. And so when you're doing something malicious or mean to another person, let's say your spouse, your ex-spouse, okay, and you're doing things with the intention of hurting them, you do not realize that you just created a boomerang for it to come back to you. Because what you think you're doing, you're hurting somebody else. Well, the universe is going to respond to that. God's going to respond to that because you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. Because that child is being affected through what you're saying or doing. You're denying that child the full scope of love, which is to have the love of both family members. because you know what happens in divorce. All the stories get made up about the other person. Oh, I'm afraid about this for my child, or I'm afraid, and they've never had a problem with that person before, but suddenly going through the divorce, they make up all these stories. They say things.
The worst thing about divorces, though, with people I see with the husband and wives, is they attack. The main thing they try to attack is the finances. They try to. Well, I'm gonna put all these credit cards, and I'm putting them up. I'm gonna raise them, and then I'm gonna put it on her, or I'm gonna put it on him, and this is how I'm gonna attack back.
Well, and this is the sad part, is that child support is finances, and it's linked to children. So parents will do terrible things, unfortunately, without even thinking about how it's affecting the soul of their children. Okay, they will do things to purposely show that they're either not having enough money, they can't pay child support, whatever it is. They're doing things with intent because it's related to money. You know, that's another whole issue in itself. We could have a whole show just on child support alone and what's happening in the system. But the reality is that yes, finances, they're doing things, and what they don't realize is they are ultimately affecting their children. Because when divorce happens, children start to question everything about life. They question everything about love. They question everything about themselves.
And they follow examples.
And they follow examples. So if you're attacking the person that they're supposed to love, which is their parent, what are you teaching your children at the same time? Yeah. And I'm speaking from experience. I'm not just speaking to speak. Speaking from experience to say, don't make mistakes. Don't do things that are going to hurt your children, because no matter what you say, and I don't care how you say it, you are the barometer for your children. What you say, what you do, what you think, what you put out into the world, you are creating for your children a pattern for them to think and believe that is acceptable. So if you're going to do something, do it right.
You know, it's making me think, as you're saying that, it's making me think of two people when they get married. It's not just two people getting married. It's the whole, everything is combined in there. It's their finances, it's their credit, it's the children, it's everything combined. If they can't fight the fire, if they can't fight the fire the way they're supposed to be, the breakdown is going to break down all the way to the end, to the core. And then when that divorce is there, it becomes so bitter. What I'm saying, it breaks down to the core because the finances, let's attack to the credit cards, the children, let's turn one against the other. Many marriage people do that. Let's turn one against the other. When it comes to divorce, then to the point where, well, let me replace him real quick. Let me replace her real quick. And it goes into a complete circle, the breakdown of the whole marriage. The whole marriage together was supposed to be love, honor, respect. You know, finances come with it, but it all comes together. And if every little piece breaks down, then the love starts breaking down. And if the love starts breaking down, then all these little pieces, it's all going to fall apart. And then they wonder and they say, why did I marry her? Why did I marry him? They made it fall apart because they did not work at it strong enough, because they had the whole pizza. They had the whole pizza to make it work, but it goes right down to they didn't want to make it work.
Correct.
So it's each individual. I didn't want to make it work. He didn't want to make it work. So I'm going to chip away everything. I'm not going to pay my note on my car. I'm not going to pay my note on my house because I want them to lose it. I don't care if I lose it. I want it this way to hurt them.
Correct. And that's going back to the core, because this is why us coming together is building that bridge of understanding. Because when you are going through a hurtful process and you're working so hard to hurt somebody else with their credit or doing whatever you're doing, you're ultimately hurting yourself. Okay, so what we're trying to do, what we're bringing to America with the Guardian Angels of Justice and Peace, is we're saying that this is not just a one-time moment of restoring your credit. This is a mindset, spiritual. This is a spiritual awakening that has to happen in all of us, so that you're not, because you only attack people because you attack people because you believe that God is not responding. Or that you don't believe in God. Because if you really believe it, God's got a plan for all of us. We talked about this in the first part of the show. He wants us to prosper. He doesn't want to harm us. It's in the scripture. He's got a plan for us. But when we're working so hard to hurt somebody else, what we're saying to that, first of all, what the person hurting you is trying to hurt you is because they don't have self-esteem. They're working so hard to hurt you. It's because they're in pain. They're truly in pain, and they're trying to hurt you because they're in pain. They don't have that awareness yet. But if they realize, if they back off, and let's just say for whatever reason that this relationship is not destined to be together, for whatever reason, and you don't you don't hurt each other. You just make it work the best way possible without hurting each other so that the children do not get impacted by all the turmoil. What happens is your life will be restored. It will be restored more quickly because you're not spending so much time battling. You're not spending so much time with energy that's you're taking. You want to take your focus off that bad energy and focus it more on what you want in life, not what you don't want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's your job now. Now it's your job because you're doing such a good with the education of that. Now it's your job to making these people not just think, but do, and then take action.
Yeah, and probably the biggest thing I would say is it's to me it's not really a job. It's really I just want to show people.
It's still a position.
It's a love. It's a love. I have a love for people, a love in my work, and so all I want to do is share what my message, what I learned, and what I would hope that people can take from it, and hopefully their lives will become magnified by God's glory and all the things that happen with that.
What's your final word? What's your final word to the people out there that are hearing this? What's your final word to people out there that are in the process of divorce or together? And what's your final word to these people?
My final word would be that, God does not abandon us, and to stay in faith, to just stay in faith, no matter how rough it is. If you've never spoken to the Lord before, you can start the conversation. I don't know you, but I want to know you. I don't have enough information. I don't even think there's people out there that think they're not worthy. I don't think I'm worthy, but I want to be worthy. That's what I would say, because that is the first communication. That conversation with God is going to open up all the other resources to them. The people, the things, the experiences in life, they're going to have those aha moments. And those aha moments that we talk about, God's way of remaining anonymous, those coincidences, is not God remaining anonymous. It's God stepping in to say, I love you.
How can they go to your website with the divorce thing if they want to get a hold of you?
Well, we have the Guardian Angels of Justice and Peace. That's the hub of where we have everything that goes on around the country. But if they want to learn more about going through divorce, before, after, how to stay strong, how to improve your mindset, how to find love, how to stay in love, even how to save your marriage, they can go to divorcesupportnetwork.com.
And you can always go to my website when it comes to credit. Now, you're hearing it. Divorce, credit goes hand in hand. It really does go hand in hand, people, because I hear it every day. But we're out to help you this year. This is the year we're going to make it happen, 2013. And we're going to continue doing it. I don't care if it's 2016 until we reach every household out there. And it's our mission now. And we hope this mission is going to change the world, change Washington, change everything that's going on out there. I do believe it. God's help. And this is Pearl Polto, as always, making the most of credit, giving credit where credit's due. This time, it's Josie and myself. We're going to make it happen. See you next week.